Yo, what's up guys? Coots back here with another tutorial. Today I'll be talking about effects as far as reverb and delay. We could talk about other effects, but those are the two ones that we're going to go over, considering they're a big part of the mixing fundamentals. I'll just go into how to fine tune your delay, how to fine tune your reverb, and we'll go from there. All right, so I don't know if you just watched the daisy chaining and mixer routing video, basically how to structure your mix, but we're going to go through a little bit of a tutorial today in this one as well on how we can structure these so then our effects are placed in the right spot. So if you didn't watch the last video, go check that out. It explains the importance of daisy chaining, why it's so important, and what you can achieve by doing it. So if you haven't downloaded this template, I highly recommend that you do. You can work along with me. I would download, it's on the EQ and compression video. I'll throw like something on the screen right now for you to check that out. But I'll also have the link down in the description. All right, so what we're going to do is we're actually going to route all of these instruments, not the drums, to a single track. So then we can add reverb. Or, you know, you can do things how you want to do, but to move stuff around on the mixer, you hold Alt and then the arrow key over. Select everything except for the bass. And we're going to do that by holding Control Shift like this. And then we're going to, with Control Shift held down, we're going to right click on this bottom one here and hit route the track. So if you did that correctly, you'll see that it's routed here and here. If you only see it routed here, that means you hit route to this track only. All right, so first up, we're going to do reverb. So we're going to rename this track. So you're going to right click on the track, rename color and icon, and you can just type in RVB and give it a pretty color if you want, and then hit enter. So that's going to be a reverb track. And you're probably wondering, what is reverb? Reverb simulates the reflection of sounds bouncing off of surfaces. So if you're in like a stairwell and you talk and you hear your voice reverberating, quite literally, in that space, then that is reverb. Whether you want your sound to be in a grand cathedral or a tiny drum room or a little studio, you can 100% do it. Remember, they've emulated places all around the world to make it virtual, so you can actually do reverb effects from places like cathedrals that are in real life. It's pretty crazy. There's a whole science behind it. But this is just for our song, so we're going to do that. So if you go to track 13, the one that you just made for the reverb channel, we're going to click on slot 1 on this down arrow, and we're going to go to reverb 2, fruity reverb 2. Let's see if I can make this larger. All right, I'll just zoom in, whatever. So this is our fruity reverb, and there's a lot of options on it. You're probably not sure what to click, but they do have presets. So if you click this drop down, presets, they have an emulation for a cathedral, a default, which is just the default preset it loads with, drum room, which emulates the drum room, large hall, small studio, the venue, etc. So let's just play it real quick. So there's one thing that we're not doing right here, and see how these two are routed to this channel. All these tracks are routed to this channel and this channel. So that means that their signal is playing twice. So you're going to hear it twice as loud. The way we can combat this is if we go back into the reverb, we can turn down what's called the dry signal. The dry signal is the plain input signal. There's no reverb on it, no effects attached. It's just the signal that is playing straight out into the channel. So if we turn that down and play it again, doesn't sound as loud. So next, the wet channel is actually what the effect is. So reverb, this can also be for any effect really. They'll probably have a dry and wet tab, but the wet, it will just be the reverb signal and how loud that will be. Early reflection is actually, which is also denoted R, is the initial sound reflections that occur shortly after a direct sound reaches like our ears. So I can never hear a difference when I turn it up. The way that we can just hear the reverb is if we turn off this channel here, because this is all routed there as well. Just click this little button. Yeah, personally, I can't hear a difference with the early reflection. But now that we just have the reverb on, we might as well mess with it and see what it sounds like. So if you have that soloed and you just got the reverb playing, let's just dive into these different settings that we can change. So first off, we got the low cut and the high cut. Low cut will cut any frequencies off that are in the lower end of the spectrum, from 20 hertz all the way up to 3000 hertz. So if we play this and we turn it up, this is good if you want to get a lot of mud out of your reverb. It gives it more of that airy feel. I normally turn it up past 400, 500. Depends on what kind of sound I'm adding reverb to. A lot of this stuff has a lot of mid-range, so I will turn it up a little bit more so we can play it again. So that sounds like a good spot. And then we also have high cut. High cut works backwards, where it starts from the middle of the EQ spectrum and goes up to 20,000 hertz. So just think of this as like you're putting the sound, you're getting rid of a lot of the high frequencies when you turn this up. Or I think it's the other way around. When you turn it down, it gets rid of a lot of the high frequencies, and when you turn it up, it opens it up. So when you turn this down, we're cutting out a lot of the high frequencies. When we turn it up, we're opening up the frequencies to be heard. So I'll normally do this around here. So next we have delay. This is the amount of time it takes for the reverb to kick in based on the initial sound. So we'll be dramatic so you can hear the difference here. So you can kind of hear it. You can visually see it too. So when we play this, this signal will come through, and then this will come through after. Cool. That's what delay does. It's useful in some cases. I normally turn it up just a small bit. Then we have size. Size is what the reverb plugin is emulating. So the size of the room, for instance, is the best way to think of it. Turn it all the way up. Sounds like a small room, like a concert, like a piano room. And then we also have diffusion. This is how well the sound is traveling through the room that we're basically making. So a lot of reflections on the walls here. You can hear. You can also drag this as well, like drag the picture too. I never do that. All right, and then we can get into mod. Also, wait, I forgot to mention, you can assign the tempo to the delay too. So if you wanted out 1, 2, 3, 4, like a quarter note, whatever you want, you can assign that. I never do that though. Next we have speed and mod. Mod is like modulation, so it'll actually alter the pitch depending on how high you turn it up. And then speed is how fast the pitch is modulated. So let's play it. So that's pretty cool. I never mess with those, but feel free to. It's probably using a lot of hip hop samples, and maybe, I don't know, lo-fi would be a good case for that. Next we have bass multiplier. This is just to add more oomph on the bass. I don't ever use that. I actually don't ever touch it. Then we have decay. Decay is actually how long the reverb signal lasts for. So this is where you can get cool effects on it, or this is where you can actually make it sound like it's in a giant room, or you're screaming on top of the, I don't know, mountain. It's just how long the tail is. That will never end. For the most part, that'll just keep going. Then you have damp. Damp, I believe, tones down the highs. And then crossover, I never learned about. Let me look it up. Okay. So crossover, according to Google, determines the point which bass frequencies will be boosted by the bass knob. Learn something new every day, but that's cool. I didn't know that. All right. So anyway, let's get back to the other settings on here. So we went over dry, we went over wet, we went over all the other settings. Side reverb is just the way that there's mid and side signals when it's played out of a stereo speaker. And I'll just play it real quick so you can hear it. So a lot of mixing techniques will involve this. I always leave it at mid so you can hear it in the stereo. Next you have separation. So if you have a speaker with stereo capability, you'll be able to hear this. If you have headphones on, you might be able to hear this, I'm not sure. But this basically will separate the reverb channel once you're done adding your reverb, to either stereo spread it or make it mono, which is like a single signal. So that's what reverb is. Now we will jump into delay. Delay is awesome. Delay is kind of like an echo in time. Reverb is emulating a space, a reverberation of where we are in the world. Delay is like an echo. So you've definitely heard it in a song. There's no way you haven't. It's used a lot on vocals, basically anything to get a cool effect. Some people use it on, like, they put a short feedback. Like we did last time, we're going to hit Control Shift, drag over these effects, and then again, click on one of these, route the track, and we're good. I messed up. All right, cool. So we're all routed here. We're going to name this DLY, hit enter. I'm going to make it a cool color. Bang. All right, so the way we'll add it is we click this down arrow. You go to, we'll do Fruity Delay 2 because a lot of people will have that one. And it looks very similar to Fruity Reverb. So on the delay, as you can note, we have a dry signal here. Again, I think this is the same as Fruity Reverb. Let me just play it. Yeah. So the dry signal is the actual signal coming into here. But remember, we had this other channel with all the other instruments on it. So we want to go on the delay and turn the dry signal down so we're not getting two dry signals coming through. Let's just play it real quick and I'll unmute the other dry signal that we had. If you have all these other ones unmuted, your speakers are probably going crazy. I wouldn't link all of these to the delay signal. So if you don't want to do that, you can actually click on one of the tracks. So like Vox Real, for instance, we'll click on that and you can click this up arrow and that'll get it off the delay signal. So we'll just stick with this piano here and we'll link that to the delay. All right, so let's go into Fruity Delay. We'll mess with it. So we have input volume. Pan is left and right speakers. It depends the input. How is this coming in? Is it coming in slightly to the left or to the right? Is the volume up and down? How loud is the volume that's coming in? We have feedback, which is invert. So we have feedback. We have normal, inverted, ping pong. Inverted will actually flip the phase of the in phase is a complicated topic, but it basically just shows played. Wow, man, I don't even know. It's been a while since I've talked about phase, but yeah, don't worry about that. We also had ping pong, which is from the left and the right speaker, but there's a way you can actually change that so it goes left and right. I'll show you that in a second. We have the cutoff, which is a low pass filter, so it'll cut the high frequencies off and anything that you move this down to. So I think it's from 20,000 all the way down to 0 or 20,000 hertz. So you can actually quite literally turn this all the way down and not hear anything. Then we have feedback, how much feedback is coming out after it goes through the delay processor. And then we have time. Time is signals. Basically time is, how fast is the echo after the dry signal comes in. So we'll just turn this down. We can actually make it really small. It sounds like the dry signal, but it's actually not. It really says. And then if we make it dramatic, then we get offset. How do we want that stereo offset to be? So this is all awesome. If you go up in the presets here, this is sick. If you go in the presets anyway, and go to stereo effects send, you can actually, this is technically a send because the piano is just going to this and it still has a dry signal on the other side. So if we play that. So pretty cool. Both reverb and delay are awesome. Like anything in mixing, remember, they're best used in moderation. It can muddy your mix too much, so consider when you're applying it. As you dive into making music, just remember you got to play around with these tools, figure out what works best for your mix and for what your sound is. There's a lot of cool tricks that you can do, especially like if you automate this stuff, but I'll go into that in another video. So, all right, thanks so much. Make sure you smash that like button, subscribe, bell thing, or whatever the hell. I don't know. Goodbye.